All right. Hello. We are starting on a brand new game. I know nothing about it. I'm a little excited. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm Kels. I am obviously the person behind the controller. I never think about what my intro is going to be when I do things solo. But yeah, so basically, I don't know anything about this other than the trailer made it seem like Higurashi, and it got recommended. So, rather than doing any pre-show banter or anything, let's just go into it. Bow.
I bid you welcome to the world of this visual novel, Raging Loop. I am nobody special, honestly. Simply consider me part of the interface. You may refer to me as Sako. You are most likely playing this game for the first time, and I am here to explain a few things about it. This work is quite strange, you see. It's recommended that the uninitiated take the time to read everything here. Those uploading their gameplay should at least read the 4 videos and sharing section. If you read until the end, you'll find a sexy CG of me doesn't exist. We truly do live in a society. A harsh society. How sad. Hi there! Now, where should I begin?
Alright, well, most of the time, you don't start with, I know. I do a lot more VA work than you'd think. Alright, I guess let's go into all these?
Raging Loop is a visual novel. Much like with regular novels, the story is told through text, and the enjoyment comes from reading it. If you are familiar with the party games Werewolf and Mafia, this visual novel bears a close resemblance to those, but keep in mind it is just that, a resemblance.
I have no idea what Werewolf or Mafia is, so this could be interesting.
Sincerest apologies to those who are hoping to play an eternal game of Werewolf with 20 super AI Bikakos. I weep and bleed for you truly. How sad. Of course, this is not merely a novel. As you carry on, you will sometimes come upon choices which affect the story. It's quite amazing. The characters have lively visual depictions, as well as voices, making it easy to immerse yourself in this world. To enjoy the voices to the fullest extent, or to simply avoid bothering your neighbors with the sound of anguished screams, please consider using headphones. I would have turned on the voices for this, but they're all in Japanese. So, playing visual novels is a little bit hard with Japanese voicing, just because I don't know how fast everyone else reads. And obviously, I do not want to read over the voicing. So, I'm going to be voicing everything again. We'll have fun with this. Okay, I have played Among Us a couple of times. So, if it's within that kind of sphere, I might know something about it. We'll find out. Anyways, I won't be doing a lot of screaming, so. This story is obscenely lengthy as well, so please take care not to be drawn in so thoroughly that you begin losing sleep.
We are going to end when my voice gives out, so probably not an option.
Also, you may be aware of this already, but Raging Loop is based entirely around fabricated murders and horrific scenarios. It's tailor-made for all you fans of suspense, thrillers, horror, and mystery. Of course, this is a work of fiction, so it has nothing to do with real people, groups, and incidents. It also includes fictional details about academic matters such as history, religion, mythology, science, and medicine. Relying upon it during exams would get you 0 points.
How sad. I would make more fun of that, but to be completely honest, I think the only reason why I passed my sophomore year of high school's history class was because I'd played the Assassin's Creed games, so sometimes video games do help you out.
Lastly, we do not endorse replicating the crimes and cruelty depicted in this work. There's nothing to worry about as long as you differentiate between reality and fiction. This is, after all, fiction. I'm sure you are intelligent enough not to conflate things that happen in the game world with things that happen in real life. So enjoy Raging Loop to your heart's content.
This is the first game I think we've played with a disclaimer, and I'm a little concerned about... Maybe I should have looked into this one more. Alright, about special functions.
Allow me to tell you about Raging Loop's special functions. Raging Loop's story branches out in ways so complicated it might be hard to follow.
Weirdly enough, Hetalia did not teach me any of the history that I needed to know. It just taught me history that I probably will never be able to talk about other than either on these streams or in party situations. So, that's something.
But there's no need to worry, for we have included a handy function called the Scenario Chart. You can access at any time by simply opening the menu, giving you an overview of the scenario. And that's not all. Using the chart allows you to move to any chapter you've already been to, anytime, anywhere. Now, there's no need to save at every choice you come across. You can simply go back and choose again, so there's nothing to worry about. The scenario chart function will be explained again when you have to use it, so don't worry if you don't quite understand it.
Dude, I hated history class in high school, and mostly because I didn't think it was that interesting. So, if I could have studied all of my history through Assassin's Creed, I probably would have. I need Ubisoft to, catch up. Just do all of history so that I can play through it as an assassin.
Next up, keys. All branching in the story happens immediately when you make a choice. None of them start taking effect further down the line. However, some of the choices can only be unlocked when you have specific bits of information called keys. Many might say that searching for these keys is one of the major goals in this game. Don't worry if you don't understand how to search for them, it will be explained when you have one. Additionally, keep in mind that all routes unlocked by acquisition of a key will be open even if you haven't saved after the fact. This also means that you can't load back to a state when you didn't have the key. This doesn't make any scene inaccessible, so it's not much of a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. For those commendable individuals who would like to play without any keys again, please refer to the data reset option. Use it wisely.
I wish that they would just tell us this stuff when I actually had to use it.
In addition to the special functions, Raging Loop also has the basic functions you'd expect any visual novel to have. You can hide the text window, see the backlog, load, save, skip read text, skip to the next choice, and so on. Saving and loading work as they normally do. There's an autosave function as well, but it only saves each time you enter a new chapter, so don't rely on it too much. Please save manually whenever it feels appropriate, whether you've read to a part that calls for it or you're about to use the scenario chart.
Remembering to save is not generally something I do well. We'll see how that goes.
Next are the options. The options allow you to change the volume, text display speed, as well as a few other things. However, explaining it all would make you all very sleepy, so please either read the other instructions or listen to a certain someone's extra explanation. I'm counting on you, certain someone.
Hey, I don't know what's up with this sheep. I love him. Alright, let's actually read about the videos and sharing, which I probably should have done before we started streaming this.
Raging Loop is a visual novel, meaning that the story, events, and conclusions are very important. Because of this, it would be very troubling if someone uploaded everything to the internet. I'd be sad, very sad. Then again, we do understand those who want to enjoy the work with many other people. Because of this, we have set a guideline for how far we would like you to upload. This range covers the whole first main route and a little extra. Specifically, you can only upload until the choice at 4, Infiltration Q, Entering the Village. That's a lot, just so you know. I'm sure you'll have enough content for your uploads. I actually think it's a bit too much. Uploaders who read everything aloud might get a sore throat. Please don't overdo yourselves, alright?
Thank you for thinking of me.
Also, if you intend to upload, please use the reminder function. If you have it set on, when you reach the time to stop making a video, a strange sheep hops onto the screen and says, "End of the line." We would be grateful if you stop recording when you see him and try theorizing and arguing instead. This function is currently set to off.
I don't know what this means, but we're going to turn it on just because I like the sheep.
Very well, I've set it to on. If you wish to change it, please go to 0, Introduction, and come here again. About the share function. In Raging Loop, the share function is available throughout the whole game. This is so that you will be free to make screenshots or record for yourself. Like Nikoko said, we would prefer if you do not upload the entire work. Please don't go beyond the set location. Otherwise, please feel free to use the function reasonably and responsibly.
don't think it will stop the stream if I go past that, if only because I have my capture card done doing it, so it's routing elsewhere. My console can't tell that I'm streaming. So the way that I think we'll compromise this is we'll stream everything, but after the stream, after their stream guidelines, I won't be uploading any of that to YouTube. So I'll be nice. But we will stream the whole thing. So.
Oh, that sure took a while. Thank you kindly for reading this far. Anyway, let's begin the story. Beyond the pockets of mist and hazes of blood, at the end of the ever-repeating despair and grief, please come and witness the truth of the werewolf village with your own 2 eyes.
Bow. All right, 5/11. Are we assuming that we're talking American dates, or like, is it May 11th or is it November 5th? Either way, it's a Sunday.
I closed in on the side of the road and killed the engine. It was steeper than I'd thought. My bike was on the verge of giving out, so I pushed down and deployed the kickstand.
Well, I'm lost. Maybe taking a ride down an unknown road with no sat-nav on me wasn't such a good idea. How old is this game, sat-nav? I just followed the road, so I figured I wouldn't get lost, but now I was in some deep shit. No, call it. This isn't a big deal. I sighed, took note of the fact that I'd gotten lost in my pocket, journal, and then pulled out a map. Suddenly, a rush of memories flitted into my mind. All right, apparently we have to forget it because it looks like I need key number 4 or I need 4 keys, and I don't know what that means. So, forget it, I guess. I somehow kept myself remembering those things, but hey, we got a trophy for it! Yay! After all, I'd gone on this trip to forget. Enough of that. I gotta focus on what's happening now. Life is simple, just like this road. It's dark and there aren't any guides, but all that means is you gotta think about whether you go forward or back. Going back wasn't an option in this case, so I'd just move forward. Still, I wanted to know where I was at least, so I looked down at my map. It was all Greek to me. Last time I'd seen a sign, it was still light out, meaning that I'd gotten lost after the sun had set. Sure, it was my own fault for just guessing which intersections I'd been passing through, and that had taken me 2 hours to conclude I was lost. Crazy to think that just 2 hours of aimless driving got me almost completely surrounded by mountains. They extended as far as the eye could see. If you flipped the scenery upside down and shook it, it's unlikely even a shred of civilization would tumble out. Besides the asphalt below, my sweet ride, and the lamppost above, the first one in a while, mind you, there was nothing man-made here. The pocket map I had wasn't detailed enough for me to figure out where I was. Guess I'll just keep driving. I like my little helmet. It's cute. I'd go as far as I could. Worst comes to worst, I could just camp out at the side of the road. My dude, you were in a horror game. I probably would not recommend doing that, but 2 hours later, I deeply regretted ever thinking that. Basically, camping wasn't an option. This mountain road had no side to camp on. A dump truck I'd passed barely even fit on it. I'd also had my first close encounters with wild forest animals. I'd already seen 2 boars and 3 deer in those 2 hours alone. One of the deer had run parallel to my bike while intently staring at me, and I had no idea what to think of that. I felt like it could smell my fear and did it just to make it worse. How dare the thing do that to a human? We're the kings of this planet, damn it! I'd have to remember to eat some venison once I came back to civilization. This is, like, weirdly aggressive about a deer. Like, I can't think of any time that I have been scared of a deer, but I guess if I were out in the middle of nowhere, I might be a little more scared. So I guess I'll give him that. Anyway, camping out here was a bad idea. I'd end up either as roadkill or animal food. And yet, I didn't back out. Why? Because I'm a pretty warped sort of guy, and I won't pretend otherwise. That was actually the reason why my once comfortable relationship had gone awry, and why I'd gone on this stupid trip. Still, despite acknowledging that, I chose to keep moving forward. It wasn't like I'd find a place to stay if I went back. I was actually starting to think that this experience might make a good conversation piece sometime down the road. It was getting really late at this point. Where would these roads take me anyway? This, like, I know that we're playing a horror game, but this feels like the point in the horror movie where you sit there and you go, wow, there's something rattling in the basement. Let me go check it out. Like, don't do this. It'd probably be disappointing. Soon enough, the road became flat. I was out of the mountain pass. Exactly. There is a difference between wanting to eat a deer out of curiosity and wanting to eat a deer out of spite. This guy's on my shit list right now. Deer are cute. I like them. The forests remain abundant, though, so I didn't see much. Even so, the streetlights and signs were enough to make me feel I was again nearing civilization. Was streetlights the right expression for lights in a forest? I'd have to look that up. As the road grew less rugged, I realized just how exhausted I was. All this bike handling had left my hands really sore, too. I really had to rest. Suddenly, I saw something unexpected. Powerful, colorful, artificial lights. A convenience store? Konbini are everywhere! Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was next to an intersection between the road I was on and another, an even thinner road that could probably support only a single car. This is very clearly a high quality konbini because it says alcohol and tobacco. So clearly we're in the good ones. The sea of trees ended, giving room for the majestic child of our consumerist society. Yeah, that was an exaggeration. Apparently, even a damn store was a big deal for someone who'd just stepped out of the wild. It was called Fresh Market. Fresh Mark. I'd seen a few of them. I'd seen several of them a few times during the day. It was probably a local franchise. The building didn't look all that old. At least the parking lot looked a lot smoother compared to the roads. Like, I don't know. Am I supposed to pronounce the E? Like, Fresh Mark seems like it could be like a pun, like we're a mark, maybe? I don't know. This was a pretty weird place to build something like that, though. Was I close to a settlement? Or did they actually make a profit off of lost travelers? I'd just ask that or something. A local shopkeeper was bound to know what was around these parts, not to mention, I was thirsty. And guess what? We're in the perfect place for a smoke and a beer! I was welcomed by a weird chime sound. It looked like a normal convenience store. There were goods on the shelves, a counter on the left, and... Whoa. The worker at the counter was so mean-looking, it was scary. She was so imposing, I wouldn't have doubted if someone told me she was in charge of some ladies' army corps. Hey. Was that supposed to be a greeting? It was so damn cold it actually gave me chills. Exactly. Fresh Marquet, the sequel to Deathmark. Okay, we'll go with Marquet. That seems to be the consensus here. Was this store shadier than it appeared? Was I about to be stupidly overcharged? Was this how this place made a profit? By taking advantage of lost people and basically beating them out of their money? It is hardly, like, we could be talking about scalping here, but considering the fact that we're in the middle of nowhere, I feel like we can't complain. Shit, that was scary. Clearly, the Wonderland had only just begun. Woohoo! I sure was excited for the beating. I grew more nervous and less enthusiastic by the second. He is kind of pretty. I braced myself, but she just looked down at a magazine in her hands. Oh, so she was just a slacker. Slightly disappointed, I walked around the store. Why are we disappointed by that? Let minimum wage workers do their jobs without judgment. That's all I'm saying. It was about what you'd expect. There was a small shelf with energy drinks, followed by some stationery, travel goods, sanitary stuff, etc., etc. There were sweets that came with toys, a shelf of cup ramen and dried food, a fridge, a freezer. It all looked normal. It was late, so the daily dish and packed lunch section was completely empty. The only special thing about this place was the section full of unpacked vegetables you'd expect to see at a greengrocer's. Maybe all of rural convenience stores were like this? I was slightly surprised by that, but there weren't any local fine foods or anything, so all in all, it was an unremarkable store. If you ignored the clerk anyway. I took a drink and brought it to the register. Yep. She really was the highlight of this place. And a clerk smokes while dealing with a customer. You're actually buying? Yes, I was actually buying. She was the clerk, and I'd be her god, the customer. Yeah, my dude. Like, pipe down on the god complex here. 126 yen. Didn't even scan it. This exchange was at the mercy of the clerk. God is dead. Maybe I had to get mad at her. We are not getting mad at this poor woman. Can I ask something? I'm kinda lost right now. I quickly turned meek. Where can I find the nearest town? There. Don't you have a map or something? We don't. Man, this woman. I'm not sure I believe that. Convenience stores often get asked for directions. You must have a map handy. That a rule? Well, we don't have one. Go back wherever you came from. I've been lost for a few hours now. I don't think I can keep it up for much longer. Sleep on the floor or something. We had to be joking. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd rather be on my way. Are you sure you can't help? Alright. Wait. Yeah, exactly. Whether she's smoking or not, like, we're not gonna be a Karen. I refuse to do that. The clerk put out her smoke in the ashtray and went to the staff-only area. She came back in no time. Found it. So she did have a map. Of course she did. Even more ill-tempered than usual, the clerk started giving an explanation. This here's the store. Go to the north of the crossroads. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When you come to a fork next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. Huh? On this road? What of it? There's nothing there. There's a settlement. It's just not on the map. Do you know any other places? There's Futiyoshi, but it's 2 hours through a mountain pass. This one's about 30 minutes away. Futiyoshi seemed to be a village. It didn't look too far away, but the road leading to it was a huge branching mess. It was clearly just a paved mountain pass. I'd had enough of those for one day. I'd probably just get lost again. I'll go to that one then. Thank you. Money. Excuse me? You didn't pay for the tea. Here's 500 yen. Ding. Rustle. Jingle. We've got some very high, budget sound effects here. Yeah, we are going to review bomb this place on Yelp. Why did you put the change in the collection box without asking me? Having too many coins is a pain, ain't it? That was a hell of a line. I casually thanked her, grabbed the plastic bottle of tea. She didn't give me a bag, by the way, and left the store. I drank the tea in the parking lot and looked up at the moon, obscured by clouds, but still bright enough to outshine the light of the convenience store. The clerk put me in a bad mood, though, so I didn't enjoy the sight. I threw the bottle. Wow, I'm getting, like, horror even before we start. I threw the bottle into a nearby trash can and aggressively drove away. Following the directions, I crossed the overpass and arrived at the first fork in the road. The byway she'd told me about was really narrow. I probably wouldn't have noticed it were it not for the tall boulder standing there like a roadside shrine for some traveler deity. Turning carefully, I got on the road. A minute later, I found myself in an even worse wilderness than before. A veil of dead leaves covered the ground. Tall grass sided the path, and the sky above was blocked by overgrown shrubs, making it feel like I was passing a wooden tunnel. I mean, here's the thing. What did we need a bag for a bottle of tea for? The answer is we don't. Yeah, exactly. We have to do the normal disclaimer, not a serial killer. I swear. Only put bottles. Actually, recycle bottles? Like, don't throw bottles into trash cans, but also don't throw dead bodies into trash cans. The road itself was a huge red flag. It was a wonder why I didn't just turn around. The exchange from before might have pissed me off more than I thought. Still, I really didn't expect the road to just end.
It happened about 15 minutes in. The view ahead suddenly turned strangely dark, and a split second later, the bike tipped forward. I reflexively hit the brakes, but it was too late. I started going down a cliff. My bike tilted downward, and its suspension was put to the greatest test yet as we basically tumbled down to the bottom. The headlights suddenly shone on some dirt and grass. I knew then that I'd be flung out of my seat. I'm trying to figure out what the noise in the background is. Is that supposed to be my heartbeat, or is that like a weird sound effect for my bike going over the bump? Because neither one, if it's the first one, I need to see a doctor, and if it's the second one, we are talking low budget. Stifling a scream, I tried to work some steering and brake magic to slow down without collapsing. But that was too big a task for a simple road bike. At the bottom of the cliff, it jumped higher than ever before. The suspension couldn't handle the impact, and I was launched into the air. A moment later, I heard a crash and felt an impact, after which came an unpleasant pain. Damn it. An accident where I was flung out like that was a first for me. The launch was really something, too. I did a 360 in the air and fell on my back. My breathing stopped for a moment, and the pain was so bad I thought all my bones shattered. Exactly, we're just gonna explode at the bottom of the cliff like SpongeBob. My face and limbs seemed pretty fine, at least, though I wasn't sure if that counted as a silver lining. There was grass under my hands. I felt it even through the gloves. That and the smell of green made it pretty clear what I landed on. I pushed down, and my hands sunk. This grass growth was pretty hefty. It was probably the reason I came out relatively okay. Sure, my joints creaked when I stood up, but aside from that, I was fine. It was really dark, so I couldn't even really confirm it, but I was pretty sure I wasn't even bleeding. My bike, however, wasn't nearly as lucky. Oh, boy. It was lying on its side a short distance ahead. The engine was still on. The back wheel kept on turning, making an unpleasant, fricative noise. Yep, it was busted. I walked up, killed the engine, and took the key. With the headlights off, I was surrounded by absolute darkness, so I just stood and waited until my eyes adjusted. I still couldn't see very clearly, but it looked like this actually wasn't a cliff. I was still on a road, it just wasn't paved beyond this point. Obviously, a road bike stood no chance against an unpaved road. A woman actually tried to kill me. Zigzagging through the trees, I followed the narrow footpath deeper into the forest. I feel like saying she was trying to kill us is a little bit jumping to conclusions there, but you know what? If this guy wants to think he's gonna get murdered, he's probably in the right game, so I tried getting my bike up and running again, but instantly gave up. It was partially stuck in mud, so there was the risk of it slipping and getting me into another accident. Maybe I had to turn around? The moment I considered that, I thought I saw a faint light ahead. If that woman wasn't lying, this road led to a settlement. Was I close? I reached into my jacket's pocket, took out my phone, and opened it up. As you'd expect, I was out of range. I ran the light app and shone a light to see better. Though weak, it was better than nothing. At the very least, it helped me watch where I was going. I had no idea how long I'd been walking for, but sure enough, I could see a light beyond the shrubs. It was weaker than expected. A flashlight, perhaps? I could hear water, too. I might have been near a river. Hello? I raised my voice. Hello? Anyone there? Still declaring my presence, I walked forward. It was late at night. Were I to bump into someone here, the scare would probably take away a few years of our lives. That was why I figured it was best for us both to let the other know we were here before that happened. However, there was no response. Did they not hear me over the rapids? Hello? I shone my light ahead and realized I'd made it to an opening. Sure enough, there was a river, or a stream, rather. I could see slightly more than I had while surrounded by trees. Straining my eyes, I saw a rocky river beach in the shallows. The light I'd seen was from the other side. From what I could tell, it was either a lantern or a flashlight, and it was close to the ground. I didn't see any people, though. No one responded to my shouting, either. I wasn't excited about it, but I decided to step into the water. But dude, that is how you die. Obviously you have never played a horror game.
cold water quickly soaked my shoes and socks. I could have taken them off, but I figured that crossing a river barefooted at midnight was a bad idea. I feel like crossing a river at midnight is just a bad idea. But man, was it cold. I put my phone back into my jacket. I needed both my hands free in case I fell. Not stopping or backing down, I walked towards the light. Don't go towards the light. It suddenly became deeper. The water reached my knees now. That was too close for comfort. Feeling the bottom with my toes and balancing myself, I somehow avoided losing my footing. The flow was fiercer than I'd expected. If I slipped and fell, I'd probably be washed away. It suddenly hit me I was doing something really weird, but it was too late to back down. Putting my hands on the boulders and carefully checking what I was stepping on, I gradually made it to the other side. Then, with an unpleasant, wet sound in my every step, I walked up to the light. I could already see it clearly. Yep, it was a flashlight lying on the ground for some reason. There wasn't much space here. It was a narrow riverbank with a cliff right beside it. As you'd expect, I didn't see or sense anyone nearby. What the hell? Though old, the flashlight was working fine. The strength of the light told me the battery was pretty full. That meant that someone was actually using this tonight. Or rather, until just a few moments ago. That was the most logical conclusion. It obviously wasn't left here yesterday afternoon or evening. And yet, the user was nowhere in sight. And I was near a river. Did something bad happen? Did the flashlight's owner step into the stream and get swept away? That was the most likely and worst possible scenario. However, the flashlight was left there practically buried in the pebbles. Didn't seem like someone placed it there to light things up. It was the dead of the night. There was no way you wouldn't notice dropping your flashlight when it was so dark. Right. The fact that a light source was left in a place like this was strange by itself. With that considered, what was going on here? What if someone heard my stupid shouting and decided to lure me in with a light so they could ambush me? Where would they attack from? Exactly, like, I don't know if he's appropriately suspicious of everything yet, or, like, we've accused, like, 3 people now of trying to murder us. What is going on here? Above? Hello? I heard a voice the moment I looked up. The rock cliff was actually made up of several boulders. There was a face peeking from behind one of them. Hello? Wow, a person! You surprised me! That was my line. Sorry, could you pick that up for me? The voice was feminine. I guessed right. I finally realized what was going on. So, you dropped this? I picked up the flashlight and pointed it at the source of the voice. Ah! High-pitched voice, slender hand shielding the light. Sure enough, it was a young woman. It's so bright! Oh, sorry. This is me, by the way. That's creepy. Don't shine it up from below like that. I'm actually a bit lost. I think a bit is something of an understatement then. Yeah, thought as much. Is this a settlement? That's a difficult question. Can you help me out at least? Help? I just need a place to hide from the rain and wild animals, that's all. Standing on a boulder, the young woman made a pensive face. Wanna come to my place? And that was the conclusion she'd arrived at. Her face told me she was 100% serious. Place. My place. By that, she surely meant a house. A settlement. Can I? I know I asked for help and all that, but I'm actually desperate enough to not hold myself back. Huh? As a man? Yes, I mean, no. As a living being, I spent the last few hours aimlessly driving around only to fall off my bike. I'm dead tired and at my wit's end here. Oh, dear. Then what kind of living being would I be if I just abandoned you? And so, I was saved. Oh, the beauty of living beings looking out for each other. Anyway, your hand, please. You can't climb up on your own, yeah? True. Honestly, I didn't even realize I'd have to. Meeting another person filled me with relief, which was followed by a sudden wave of fatigue. It wasn't crippling, though. She extended her left hand, so I grabbed it with my own left. Her slender fingers were stronger than expected. The girl's name was Chiemi Serizawa. I asked if she was related to the Shinsengumi guy, but she said that her family just adopted the name at some point in the Meiji period. She was a 21-year-old who went to a college far away from here. This was her hometown, and she was spending her post-exams vacation here. We chatted about stuff like that when she'd led me out of the rocky ravine. There was actually a proper path, so the rock climbing was pretty pointless, but I was too focused on my footing to comment. She told me about herself as soon as we reached solid ground. Exactly, we do have a giant god complex, and I don't know if you mean that we're going to become a monster in the literal or metaphysical sense. But yes, I have no doubt that we are at least going to end up being a horrific person and possibly murdering people.
And what about you?
I'm Haruaki Fusaishi, a graduate student in a Tokyo college.
Ah, so you're a bit older.
I'm 24, so 3 years. I'd say we're in the same age range.
Yeah, so don't you dare be formal with me.
All right, then you can be casual with me too.
Can I really?
I like it when girls are friendly with me. But dude, we have dial it back just a little bit.
Well, I know what you mean. I don't like stiff socializing either. Sure, I'll treat you like a friend.
Wouldn't have it any other way. That aside, are we there yet?
Not quite. We're like 5 minutes away. Hang in there, Chief.
What a lively girl. You could tell she was used to people.
Also, watch your step and just focus on the light.
Any reason?
There are loads of pebbles here. It's dangerous.
The moment she said that, I stumbled on a rock too big to be called a pebble.
And it's pretty dark tonight.
She does kind of look like Ayano from Yandere Simulator. And I missed what that said. I couldn't even see the moon anymore. Nodding in agreement, I focused on following the light in her hand.
I gotta change. Wait here a sec.
And so I did just that. Given that this was a mountain settlement, I had expected some old wooden house, but she actually lived in an apartment block. It was too dark to get a good look at it. All I could see were the cheap-looking walls, like you'd expect from some old boarding house for students. Also, she lived on the second floor, in room 202. I'd heard some raindrops as we were climbing the rusty stairs, but now it was really pouring. Between that, the darkness, and the large tree next to the building, it was nearly impossible to see what was going on inside. It felt like I was all alone in a world of nothing but the walls, the door, and the fluorescent lamp above my head. Are we trying to look inside to watch her change? Like, what else are we looking at? It made me feel somewhat helpless. I distracted myself from that by imagining her changing. Jesus Christ, my dude. Eventually, the door opened up.
Sorry about the wait. Come in.
All smiles, she showed herself, now wearing sports clothes. This is kind of exciting. Exactly. All we need to do now is create our bike using the pebbles. I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure we can figure it out with enough time. Maybe. Probably not.
Look at this place. It's completely empty, huh?
Yep.
But get a load of what's in the fridge.
Magnificent.
Let's drink.
Hell yeah. Thought we were tired. Yeah, her place really was empty. It was just a small room with a low table in the middle, a fridge near the door, and a large duffel bag deeper in. There were 2 old-looking bookshelves too, but they were completely empty. I wasn't bothered one bit, though. Any girl's room was a wonderland to me. Oh, we apparently do not get laid.
Anyway, you went through some big trouble, so I'll drink to you.
And I'll drink to you for helping me out. You're a real saint. We opened up our cans, knocked them together, and downed them. Hey, it was actually good. The pleasant bitterness and the refreshing carbonation made for a good combo.
Ah, so good. I live for this.
Come on, you're too young to say that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not despairing for my future or love life yet.
You hear that? That's the sound of job hunting. It's a coming here fast.
No, don't say that. You'll ruin my beer.
She laughed and took a huge sip. It was pretty clear she could hold her drink. That aside, something really bothered me. I know, I do not trust our protagonist around a girl with beer, and we've met him for a whole, 40 minutes, so really good sign. This might be a bit late for this, but can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Her cheeks were already red. Maybe she didn't handle her liquor as well as I thought. She had a well-featured face, and I didn't think it was wrong to consider her beautiful. Oh, where are we going with this? Sure, her clothes weren't the least bit sexy, but I could tell she had some makeup on. To you, I'm just some stranger who says he's lost, right?
Yep.
And you yourself are a young woman who invited that stranger into an enclosed space and started getting drunk.
Ah.
Don't you think this is dangerous?
Hmm.
She kept gulping the drink even as she formulated a response. The very fact that I could just watch her do that made this a pretty risky situation, and yet,
I wouldn't say so.
but
Time for a Chiemi Serizawa quiz.
yay!
Here's the question. My virginity is threatened, yet I don't feel like I'm in danger.
Why? What a fun girl. This only made me like her more, increasing the danger even further. I don't know. But dude, you were the only danger here, can we not? Am I allowed to ask questions? Sure. Can I just assume that it's not because I look like a good guy?
Well, I don't think you look like a bad guy, but no, I doubt you're good either.
You look experienced with women, for one. The man does not talk like he is experienced with women, so. That unintentional compliment showed that she actually did see me as a potential danger. There are two types of answers to this. Either you expect nothing bad to happen, but wouldn't be bothered if it did, or you actually want something to happen. I can think of several situations for the former. For example, you're actually on the edge and don't care about what happens. Or maybe you're just confident you can defend yourself. Maybe you know martial arts and can easily kick my ass.
Ah, so logical. Let me guess, you're a scientist.
Well, I guess you could say that. Now, for the latter, if you intend for something to happen, then.
I'm a thirsty perv or something?
Wow. Talk about not mincing words.
I blame the booze. So, what else is there?
Indeed, what other reason could a woman have to bring a stranger into her home? It would surely be something non standard, like, you want to use me somehow? For example, setting me up as an alibi. I could be useful to you by attesting that you were here.
Whoa, that's so shrewd.
Or maybe you're a serial killer who brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me.
Ah, so I'm some evil mountain witch now. Sounds great. I'll kill you right good. Splash, splash!
What kind of sound effect was that? Exactly. The real answer is that I have a cattle prod.
By the way, you forgot another case.
I did?
Yep. I could just be a really good person who simply wants to help you.
Was it time for me to be ashamed of my filthy mind? Yes. Yes, it is. But wait, is that really important enough to risk being assaulted?
Ah, so you're thinking of assaulting me?
I'm just talking in general. You know, the cliche scenario. She stopped talking and turned red. It was so cute, I thought she was actually doing it on purpose. Man, was she drunk. And we were just on our second cans.
Then how about this? If I don't let you stay here, something even worse would happen, and I'd feel real bad.
Huh? Care to elaborate?
There's some scary wild animals around here. You might have gotten torn up and eaten. Yeah, splash, splash. That have left a bad taste in my mouth, so I figured I'd just let you stay here instead.
I see. So you're balancing risk and goodwill. Didn't expect that.
Really now? You got any idea of how much of a bad guy you seem now?
Huh? I do? Yeah, but dude, you have given off so many red flags.
I mean, you assumed I was a thirsty perv, a serial killer, or needed an alibi before considering I was just a nice person.
You're the one who brought up the perv thing.
Details? So, what's the right answer?
Huh? We're not just messing around?
Get it right, and I'm giving you a nice present. Get it wrong, and you're dead. Splash, splash.
Seriously? All right, is she desperate? Does she need an alibi? Is she a thirsty perv? Or would she feel guilty if she let us die? Because it looks like I can't answer the last one. Can't wait to find out what key number 20 or 20 keys gets me. Maybe someday I'll figure out what those are. Yeah, she's clearly getting drunk. I do not want to sleep with her. Consent is important. We've talked about this on these streams. What would we like to say, chat? I mean, she probably would feel guilty if she let us die. But bringing up that she needed an alibi was really weird. Like, where did our brain go there? We're out in the middle of nowhere and haven't seen anyone. That is true. So rotten people tend to project their awfulness on everyone else. So it says a lot that we have these options. Like, I will say, we have not painted ourselves as a great person. Yeah, we'll go with chat's on it. Everyone in chat is on the same page. We're gonna go. You'd feel guilty if you let me die. I don't know what being desperate even means, and I don't. There's no context.
Ding, ding, ding! You're right! Oh, cool. Well, I wasn't joking when I said this area is dangerous. There's deer, boars, wild dogs, and bears.
I actually saw deer and boars myself, but bears?
Yep, moon bears, though. They aren't big, but they do attack. It's pretty dangerous out there.
That's just wild.
But there's something even worse.
What? Worse than bears?
Snakes, monkeys, crows, spiders!
Huh? Are they venomous or something? I really doubted that. Those really didn't seem worse than bears.
Also,
wolves. There aren't any wolves in Japan.
Yeah, there are.
You're in the sticks, you know? She smiled and drank out of the third can. I don't know if being desperate is different from being a perv, but I don't know that I want to know either.
Speaking of wolves, whatever the reason, you ended up coming into a pretty girl's home. Won't you become a wolf yourself?
No. Nope.
What a gentleman. Have another one.
I wasn't too sure, but I felt like she'd dodged the subject. Perhaps I wasn't being cautious enough. But then again, I'd been wandering aimlessly for a long time by now. I had enough recklessness in me to enjoy sharing a drink with a cute, if shady, girl. All right, we've made it. Okay, so it must be May 12th, because I can't imagine we've spent an entire month here. Monday. Yeah, maybe she's just desperate for company, because she's just very lonely out here in the sticks doing nothing. The last thing I remembered was our little "when was the last time you pissed yourself while sleeping" talk. I had to tell her about the time I got so drunk I wet my pants in the middle of the boarding house. Is this a common thing that people do? Like, do people have a lot of these stories? Am I missing out on something? She'd laughed so hard she started frothing at the mouth and passed out. I woke up with a splitting headache. Oh man. Morning already? Light poured in through the frosted window. I pulled out my phone and checked out the time. 7 in the morning. I'd gone to sleep somewhere between 2 and 3, which probably wasn't quite enough sleep. At least I didn't wake up to some horror movie scene. The building wasn't in ruins, and the girl wasn't actually a skeleton. Oh, the irony. Though, in a way, this might have been worse. Oh no. She was spread out on the floor on the other side of the mini table. Her breathing was mixed with some weird gurgling sounds. I hesitantly looked at her. The had saved me from the hell I was in last night had puked in the middle of her sleep. What was I supposed to do here? As a guest, I couldn't really be too harsh on her. Emi-chan. She wasn't waking up. Well, I'd just do what little I could. There we go. We spent an entire month in this girl's house without getting laid, and that's how we become the villain. There, that should be good enough. I'd used tons of toilet paper to clean up her mess and flush it down the toilet. It left a stain on the floor, but it was dirty to begin with, so whatever. I'd even wet a towel and cleaned her face. Even then, she showed no signs of waking up. Some of it was on her hair and clothes, but I figured it was best if she took care of that herself. Yami-chan. The first hint of consciousness so far today. I'll be leaving for a bit. Without waiting for a response, I walked to the entrance. She'd have to take a shower and change and all that, so I'd killed time outside. I stepped into my still damp shoes with my bare feet. My socks were in the washing machine with the towel she gave me to wipe my legs. Why did we not clean her up with the towel? Why did we choose toilet paper? And reached for the doorknob. I opened the door and was greeted by a gust of wind. The raindrops gathered on the leaves of the tree next to the building flew right into my face, making me grimace. The rain from last night was already over. The sky was pretty clear, but despite that, I noticed the visibility of my surroundings was poor. The building was surrounded by leaves. The old structure was basically buried in a forest of trees about as tall as itself. There were branches poking into the exposed hallway. It almost felt like they'd reach out and grab me if I wasn't careful. I kind of felt like I was in an overgrown ruin. I turned around and saw the room and Tiemi just as I left them. Yep, it was all real. I closed the door. There were other rooms in this building, which made me wonder if they were occupied. Hell, I wondered the same thing about the area in general. I pushed the branches aside to see if there were other buildings nearby. Suddenly, something entered my vision. It didn't feel right. Something that shouldn't have been there. The leaves I moved revealed a woman clad in curious clothing. Say that 5 times fast. The moment I recognized her as such, she opened her closed eyes. Did our eyes meet? Another strong wind. I shielded my face from the spray of raindrops. When I looked outside again, the woman was nowhere in sight. Was that an illusion? If not, then what? What kind of place was this? It could have been a real Hicksville, a marginal village, a bunch of actual ruins, or an illegal settlement. I had some theories, but I set them aside for now. It seemed like a place worth exploring, regardless. I went down the stairs and found no sign of the woman, or anyone else for that matter. A short distance away from the building, I turned around, and sure enough, it was pretty much covered in trees. I went to the place where I saw the woman. There were footprints in the grass here. Maybe I'd find her if I followed them? Why are we following this poor lady? Leave her alone! They led me to an open area. It was unused, but it looks like someone was trying to do something with it. Is it supposed to be a construction site? Even if it was clearly abandoned. There were large rocks and lots of sediment near a prefab. From what I could tell, there had been a giant landslide which forced them to stop construction. The fact that plant growth was still minimal meant that it had happened fairly recently. The footprints seemed to be going down the hill next to the site. Leave this poor lady alone! Following them, I finally saw something that could be called civilization. There was a set of paddy fields with houses nearby. So this actually was a settlement. What a relief. I decided to keep following the footprints and approach the settlement. I came across another unpaved path that was clearly used by people and cars. It was lined with weeds and bushes reaching up to my waist. It was home to caterpillars and grasshoppers, amongst other things. Spiders were no exception. There was no shortage of insects there, so it was a good place for a net. I wasn't particularly scared of spiders, but I didn't like them either. At least they were just harmless orb weavers. Regardless, I avoided these bushes just in case, and followed the path like the good city boy I was. There was a large boulder surrounded by grass, strangely tall, making it look like it was put there by people. On its dewy surface, there was a gray tree frog, ready to go after the many insects scattered about. Why are we going so into detail about this scenery? I walked a bit further and came across a house with a small field nearby. The field's location made it safe to assume it belonged to the inhabitants. If there were inhabitants, anyway. I couldn't see anyone. And just like always, there was grass everywhere. There was another boulder standing next to the house. This one was obviously placed there by a human hand. What was the point? Was it a monument or something? The footprints continued into the field. The wet mud on the field was still full of small, young, but healthy-looking rice plants. If you ignored the standing boulders in the area, the place looked like a normal farming village. I was both relieved and worried at the same time. From what I saw, there weren't any other buildings besides just the one in the settlement. Everything was just mountains, meaning that this place was completely isolated. And I was a complete outsider. There was no way things would go well if I ran into a random local that I am currently chasing. Like, let's leave this lady alone and go back. I belatedly crouched to hide myself a bit. It was probably best for me to go back. Tammy might have been looking for me. Exactly, buddy system. That is how we survive these things. Suddenly, I heard a sound. I looked for its source and found a speaker on a wooden utility pole in the middle of a small plaza. A morning broadcast? I'd never heard this tune before. It was cheerful at first, but had some parts that seemed really dark. I found it unsettling. Perplexed, I stopped walking, and what happened next made me hide myself. Yeah, I will say I would rather have detailed conversation about the scenery here that I don't actually care about rather than thinking about Chiemi with her clothes off, so. There was a person in the area densely surrounded by houses, but they weren't normal. What was with that appearance? What was that on her face? Though I was a fair distance away, I could see an old woman with some sort of cloth over her face shakily walk out from between the buildings. Oddly enough, there were boulders even there. Look, if it was an ice cream truck, we would have been able to get out of here. So what I'm hearing is we need to find an ice cream truck. But even weirder was the fact that she walked up to one of them, lightly joined her hands, and bowed her head before it, her face still hidden. Then, all was silence. It actually looked like she was revering it. To me, it looked like she was praying to it. This was bad. Really bad. I'd wandered into a settlement with a unique culture, to put it lightly. Forget causing trouble, an outsider like me could get killed here. I just turned around and ran for it. We are so paranoid. I dashed up the hill, past the house, through the construction site, until I arrived back at the apartment building. Tammy looked like a relatively reasonable person. Maybe she could tell me what was up? It just hit me that the way that she described this place was somewhat weird. She basically said it wasn't normal. Or maybe you're a serial killer who brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me. Ah, so I'm an evil mountain witch now. Sounds great. I'll kill you real good. Splash, splash. No way. What if she was actually the bait they used to lure outsiders here? We have, like, jumped off the rail already. Eventually, the broadcast stopped. Tammy still hadn't come out of her room. She didn't respond even when I knocked or called out to her. I didn't have to worry about this, right? That just made my inexplicable unease grow worse. What if this was a trap? Was I in a dangerous situation? I had to talk to her. If she was a normal person, anyway. Maybe my best option was to run away right now? I wouldn't know where to run. I couldn't remember the path we'd taken here, though I was pretty sure we'd went uphill, so maybe I had to go down? If I avoided the settlement and went back to the mountain stream, I could escape by following the wild roads. That was my best option, even with the difficulties considered. We've gotten lost literally everywhere we've gone, but we think we can make our way back. That seems likely. Exactly. We have played enough Higurashi to know. Hinamizawa syndrome isn't getting us today. Thankfully, I'd taken my bag with me. I took out a 5,000 yen note and put it in Tiami's newspaper box. It was payment for last night's beer. The moment I turned around to take my leave, the door to the room next to the staircase opened slightly with a creak. I saw an eye glaring at me through the gap. Ah! Her high-pitched scream pierced my eardrums. I screamed too, scared shitless, and ran for it. Suddenly, I stepped onto the wet hallway floor at a bad angle. I fell. Thud, thud, thud.
Harutan, what's wrong? Whoa, who's this old guy? Who are you? And are you alright?
The reasonable sounding voice prompted me to shake off the pain and raise my head. There were two boys in formal looking uniforms, so I definitely used the wrong voice. It's fine.
Are you alright?
He repeated the question. Yeah, I was just startled.
You friends with Tiene? Tiene?
Tiene?
Oh, you mean Tiemi-tan. Are you a friend of hers from college? She didn't tell us anyone was just visiting.
Oh, I just got into some trouble and she helped me out. There's nothing shady about me, though I know that's hard to believe. It really is, old man. How do I handle this? Anyway, my name's Haruaki Fuseishi. I'm Yasunaga Oribe. This is Chikamoki Kamoshira.
This mochi is fine.
Good to know. If I called him that, maybe he'd stop calling me old man. I was only 24. And this is... Haru-chan, what are you doing?
We don't know him.
Apparently, this Haru-chan was the person who looked at me through the gap in the door and screamed. He seems safe. Come out. A moment later, she slammed the door shut, and after a few more moments of hesitation, opened it up again. Whoa. She looked like a student, too, except her fashion sense was exceptionally, flashy. Who are you? Name's Haruaki Fuseishi. I crashed my motorbike nearby, and Tiemi Serizawa-san helped me out.
Wait, are you saying you spent the night in her room?
Yeah, I did. She cut my words short with her ear-piercing shriek.
So that's why it was so noisy. What were you thinking? You're not supposed to enter an unmarried girl's room. It's indecent.
Yeah, I was hesitant too, but Tiemi-tan was kind enough to let me in.
Why are you acting like you've known her your whole life?
Wait, she's not getting out. Don't tell me you... There's a 5,000 yen note in the door. I'm not going to do that ear-shattering scream for respect out of my neighbors, but... Scream. Don't tell me you... No. She just gave me lots of booze. I'm paying back for that.
Tiene's body is worth way more than that. How dissolute.
What the hell were these kids saying? Hey, can you help me out? You drank with a girl you just met, and she's not coming out. Crap, I had no allies here.
What's going on?
And so the subject of the conversation joined in.
Oh, Tiemi-tan, can you tell them what happened last night?
Does she remember what happened last night? Something was off about her aura. What happened to the lively girl she'd been yesterday? I mean, she might be hungover. That seems like a thing.
Exactly. You can't do that without a license. That's illegal.
Yene, you...
Man, this is embarrassing.
Whoa. Oh, wait, hold on. Stop.
I can't be a bride anymore.
More ear-piercing shrieks. Teenagers are fun. Man, what a mess. Though Tiami's face was all pale, she was actually grinning. She obviously had a bad hangover, but that didn't stop her from messing around. After calming everyone down, Tiami explained what actually happened. How we met in the middle of the night, how she let me stay out of goodwill, how we drank ourselves silly, and how nothing happened between us.
Man, it's been so long since I drank that much. Guess I wasn't prepared for it and puked it out. Sorry you had to see that, Haruaki-san.
Hey, I don't mind it. That Haru-chan girl still looked at me funny. Absurd. Anyway, sorry. I was so tired yesterday that I couldn't refuse her kindness.
Well, this is Tiene we're talking about. She does whatever she wants.
He's got good reasons for being here too, so maybe the elders will understand? Where did you find him anyway?
Well...
Next to the river, further down. My words made everyone change their expressions. That's a bit
A big deal? 2 people? Just over 2 days?
Did I say something bad?
It was gonna get out sooner or later. We made quite a scene, so I wouldn't be surprised if everyone in Yasumizu already knows.
Hey, what did you mean by 2 people over just 2 days?
Don't touch me! You're filthy!
I wasn't trying to touch her, and I wasn't filthy. Sure, I hadn't had a bath in over a day, but still. Hey, you, why's it a big deal? Aiba's gonna go, yee! Well, that sure sounded bad. Can you tell me more?
It's a bit complicated. For now, just keep in mind that this is the countryside. Things are different here than in the city.
This guy was Oribe-kun. Ignore Tiemi, and he was the easiest person to talk to. What should I do?
Just leave it to me, alright? And it's time for students to eat, isn't it? But I want to see where this mess goes. No, you don't. Just go already, we'll catch up. Well, I guess it's best to go separately. There's probably going to be some disagreements. Yeah, I knew you'd understood, Yes-kun. Take care of them for me, alright?
Sure.
Stop treating me like a child. Yeah, I swear I'll poop on you.
Okay.
Let's just get going, you two.
And so the students walked off toward the stairs. Kinda easy to tell what sort of relationship they had. Exactly. The reason she didn't sleep with us is because a virgin sacrifice is clearly needed. Anyway, so they live in this building too?
Yep, it's a student dorm, you know?
A student dorm? In this Hicksville? Still, my sensitives had betrayed me. There were actually other people here.
By the way, you didn't run into anyone else and get in trouble, right?
Yeah. I was careful on that front.
Good. Let's get ready to go to the dining hall.
Oh, for breakfast?
Nope. Eat your breakfast now. We'll go to the dining hall to introduce you.
Yay! It's always great to hear from you. Thank you for coming and hanging out for a bit. Bye. Huh? To who?
To whoever has a problem with an outsider coming from Saranaga.
Oh, like that Taiba person, huh? I'm in your hands then.
It's fine. If you're that grateful, keep what happened this morning a secret.
Sure thing. What's Saranaga anyway? That river?
Yep. The river's called Saranaga Rapids, but the area around it is called Saranaga. The place has some cultural significance.
It does?
Yep. They say it's a corrupt place where the dead return from the other side.
Well, that's a nice little cultural local legend. So that's why they'd reacted like that. Any other rules or customs I should be aware of?
Oh, there's lots. So just leave everything to me, all right?
Gladly. On all fronts. If I may ask, am I in danger?
Nope. But you should try to escape before something unpleasant happens to you.
And you're gonna lay the groundwork for that, huh?
Yep.
The settlement I'd strayed to was a weird place, but at least the guide was reliable. And she wanted me to leave ASAP, huh? That was depressing. Did we want to stay here? Like, this place has been weird. Let's go. Tammy gave me some cup ramen for breakfast. She boiled the water in a small electric kettle. The girl herself was too hungover to eat anything. I did take the opportunity to pay her back for last night's drinks in person, though. Then we made our way to the dining hall. Welcome to Sunzu Rapids. What are these boulders?
They're like charms, I guess? They've been here forever.
I've never seen anything like them anywhere else.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of unique to this area.
She led me along a narrower path than I'd followed earlier. Didn't seem like any cars used this one. It was very farmy, I guess. This area was also littered with those boulders. Some were cracked, broken, or half buried in the fields. There were clearly religious symbols, but it didn't look like they were that important these days. Or were they?
Now that I knew I was safe, I once again became curious about this place. Oh, there's a person. He was working on the field. That's Takumi-ni-chan. Morning. Tammy waved her hand. The man responded, but then froze mid-wave. Let's go. Are you sure we should? The guy looked pretty surprised to see me. Don't worry. He'll be at the dining hall soon. We'll explain things then. Well, if she said so. As an outsider, I had no choice but to rely on her. This was the part of the village I saw this morning, where the buildings were more densely packed. I didn't notice it back then, but it was actually kind of weird. Basically, it felt desolate. The wooden bungalows, in particular, were more or less overgrown, buried in tall grass and other greenery. If this was all I saw of the village and someone told me it was abandoned, I'd have easily believed them. Exactly, this place has been weird. Our only reason for staying here is the presence of a cute girl who has not indicated complete disinterest in begging us yet. And the fact that our bike is currently broken, and I don't know how we're getting out. However, two of the buildings stood out. There was a hall right beyond the hill. It wasn't that big, but it looked grand and well maintained. The other building was obviously the dining hall. It looked a bit dirty, but I could tell there were people inside. From what I could tell, it was the most lively place in this poor excuse for a community. Suddenly, the three students walked out, chatting about something. Ah, Tiene and Fuseishi-san. Morning again. Aren't you late? We took forever because Mochi doesn't stop saying nonsense. Yes, I am evil. Give me miso soup. Oh, you'll make it if you hurry. Behave in class, you guys. Half dashing, the three ran up the path we came from. They're all in high school, huh? Yep. There's a branch school all the way up the mountain. I was going there myself 3 years ago. Sounds like a hassle. It's not all bad. At least we get to live in that dorm. Tammy was entirely straight-faced. There wasn't even a hint of a smile. Ah, right. Let's get psyched. Yeah. I'm not convinced. We laughed a little and passed the curtain. Welcome. Oh. The inside was as aged as the outside, but it looked well maintained. Is he a visitor, Tiami-chan? The hostess-looking lady asked. Though somewhat aged and fatigued, she was definitely beautiful. There were two others beside her. One was a lady in her 70s or 80s. She was probably the one I saw this morning. The silhouette matched. The other was a man who seemed a bit younger than her, probably in his late 60s. Though they were just sitting there was a menacing aura about them. I'll introduce him. This is Haruaki Fuseishi. I found him at Saranaga last night and took him into my care. Their reactions were powerful. The lady gasped while the two elders rose to their feet with alarm. The tension that was already there the moment I walked in reached its peak. I know you're concerned, but this is just a coincidence. Unlike that little girl, he knows exactly where he came from. He went on an old path with his bike and crashed. It's actually really sad. That's why I think we should help him leave. Exactly. Be evil for miso soup. Don't do evil for other things. Just for miso soup. What do you think? After saying all that, Tiami fell silent. The ball was in their court now. Now, that is troubling. The lady voiced a harmless opinion, careful not to upset the old people. It was pretty clear who was in charge. They were elders in more ways than one. Di-chan, why did you even go to Saranaga at night? I had a hunch, I guess. You know what happened. I couldn't fall asleep. Then he's gotta be a Yomibito. Shut it, Taiba. From the conversation, it was pretty clear that something had happened before I arrived here. It was probably similar to what happened with me. She'd mentioned some little girl. Perhaps there was a child who wandered in here like I did? According to Tiemi, the Saranaga Rapids were a place of significance around here. It was a place from which dead people came to life or whatever. So did we die in our bike accident? Oh, so this time must have been the lady that the Boyd mentioned, and the Omibito must have been a term for the dead who came from there. Apparently, the primary goal here was convincing these elders to approve of helping me. Where are you from? The old man's voice put my derailed mind back on track. I'm from Tokyo.
How old are you? 24. He chuckled. I immediately realized he was taking a jab at me for hiding behind a younger girl. Nice to meet you. I'm Haruaki Fusaisi. Like she said, I wandered into town after my bike crashed. I seem to be a total outsider here, so I didn't want to speak out of turn. That's why I asked her to talk on my behalf, but I think I should say something at least. I won't trouble you any longer than I have to, so I would be grateful if you pardoned my brief stay. And please don't blame her for helping me. Hey, Haruaki-san! I think she went against this village's customs by helping me out. The students also seem surprised. My. I'm an adult. I'm willing to take responsibility for any troubles that I caused as best I can. So please, put up with me. I bowed my head. He seems all right to me, Taiba. Don't know about that. Look at his hair, all colored brown. Shit. I forgot I didn't look very presentable to more traditionalist people. Outsiders are all like that. Just help them get out of here, I says. Do what you want. I guess I got their half-hearted approval? Haruaki. Harue. Like my granddaughter. What a mess. Oh, so that means you're... Yep, he's Haru-chan's grandpa, Kanzo Makishima. Pleasure. I didn't know what else to say. Haru-chan and I weren't on the best of terms so far. Anyways, it seemed like we were past the difficult part. Drove into Saranaga, eh? No, actually. I asked for directions at a convenience store, went down a side road, and ended up losing control on an unpaved section. Then you were in Saranaga. Why didn't you turn around? He wasn't impressed by my choice of actions. It just hit me that I had no idea how much time passed between the crash and my meeting with Tiemi. Takumi and I'll go see it. Takumi's working in the field. It's to get him to leave. Let the boy help. Never changed. What's going on here? We're joined by a new inhabitant. Jimmy, who's that guy? Oh, Takumi Ni-chan. Oh, so he was the one we saw in the field. Wow, he sure looked big from up close. All that field work was good for his muscles, clearly. And from what I could tell, he was in his 30s. As Tiemi introduced me and told him of my situation, I found out his name, Takumi Muro. Man, that must have been hard. So, old man Kanzo. We'll pick it up. Thought so. Taiba-chan, wait a bit while I help the guy. I already spread the stuff on the field, so I'll mow the grass at noon. What a good boy. It ain't a big deal. I'll be so quick you'll think nothing happened. Good to hear. Nothing, eh? Boy. Huh? Me? What is it? You're in Yasumizu. It ain't a good place. Eh. It was the place that wasn't good? Not my presence here? We don't like outsiders here. And outsiders should let sleeping dogs lie. So, should hurry and leave. That's the plan. So, it's settled? Yep. Thanks, Takumi Ni-chan. I was starting to understand how things worked here. Although Kanzo Makishima's voice was the most powerful here, it was also important to get Tai-san's approval. Kanzo-san was probably in charge of tackling the settlement's practical problems, while Tai-san provided spiritual and moral direction. And when it was time to be civilized, Takumi-san came in with Tai-san, acting as an intermediary. It looked like Takumi-san himself understood such subtleties, and Tiemi seemed to rely on this side of him. Here you go. The lady brought some tea to the old folk. Perfect timing. Ah, Kaori-san. Looking forward to getting some food. So that was her name. Sure. I'll make a lot. It'll be a reward for waking up early and working hard. Hey, I'm doing it for Yasumizu Batan. And you. It's nothing, really. Oh, my. These two sure seem to get along. They looked about the same age, too. Would you like something to eat, too? No, thank you. I already ate. Then here's some tea. I can also get you a light snack if you'd like. What would you say to some onigiri? Oh, that would be... Sorry, can we borrow the phone?
We need it quick.
Oh?
Sure, but why not have some tea first? Thanks, but it's urgent. Let's go, Haruaki-san.
Sure. It didn't look like I could say no. We went up the nearby stairs to what seemed like a living space. At the end of the creaky hallway, there was a black rotary phone, a rarity in this day and age.
This is the only phone in all of Yasumizu, by the way.
Seriously?
Oh, and not a single mobile service provider works in this area.
Really? Wait, who do you want me to call anyway?
Road service, insurance, stuff like that, and family if you have to.
Oh, that made sense. Hell, I should have been the one to say that.
Like I said, it'd be best if you left as soon as possible, so you should use everything you have.
Because outsiders aren't welcome here?
Yep.
And I shouldn't pry any further, huh?
Haruaki-san, I see you catch on quickly. That's good. But you also seem really curious.
It shows, huh?
Of course it does. Honestly, though, you should avoid sticking your nose into things.
Because we'll part ways soon anyway.
Exactly.
That's kind of sad. Oh?
You want my contact info?
If you're willing to give it.
Yay! That makes you guy number 53 on the list.
Damn, if that ain't a letdown. We still went on to exchange our info. I could only hope that being number 53 wasn't as big a problem as it sounded. Exactly, we're too busy being horny to think properly. Anyway, I'd still like to know the reason why me being here is such a big deal.
I don't recommend it.
But why?
Because it'd make me upset.
You don't like it here?
Yeah, I actually hate it.
You seem to get along with the people, though.
That's just how it looks. I was a huge problem child, so I feel kind of awkward around the older folk here. And there's tons of things you can't see right away. Oh, but I can't say I actually hate the people.
With that, I decided to stop prying about this place any further. I'd back away before she came to hate me. Oh, can I ask one thing, though?
Ooh, gutsy. Go ahead.
Do you like that Takumi Muro guy?
What? Me? Like him?
Yeah.
No way! Takumi sounds cool and all, but he's too rugged and over a decade older than me. He's out of my strike zone. And he's always only had eyes for Kaori-san.
It sure felt like it. They married or something?
Nope. Kaori-san's a widow.
Well, that seemed complicated. That aside, Tammy had been acting a bit strange. Why had she dragged me away from the tea? Seemed so awkward, too. Assuming she hadn't been jealous of Kaori-san and simply didn't want her to charm me, it would mean that she hadn't just wanted me to drink the tea. Why? Also, why'd she feed me cup ramen if I could have just gotten food at the dining hall? Looking into things too deep was part of my nature, though things were never as bad as I assumed. Exactly! Now that you're the 53rd person, we have enough victims for a full deck of cards! You'll be the Joker. I went on to call my insurance company, where I found out something. Apparently, this village was hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest service station, meaning I was ineligible for the normal service and I had to pay extra. And the extra was no small amount, too. It actually went over 100,000 yen. Also, I could have avoided this if I'd taken a more expensive plan. This is all my own fault for not taking the bike salesman's advice. Shit. Also, if we'd maybe looked at a map and hadn't ended up here. I said I would consider it and hung up. Then I went back to the dining hall. Huh? Where did everyone go? The customers had changed completely. Tai-san, Kanzo-san, and Takumi-san were gone now. They were replaced by a caricature of a juvenile delinquent. The fuck are you? He shouted at me. He seemed like he was trying too hard. He then slammed his bowl and chopsticks on the table and stood up to intimidate me. I'm Haruaki Fuseishi. The hell? You wanna go? Goodness. Yoshitsugu, you don't talk like that to someone you just met. Shut up, hag. Tiene, the hell's this asshole?
Haruaki-san, a traveler who crashed his bike.
Boy, was that introduction half-assed.
Let me introduce them to you. This is Kaori Oribe and her second son, Yoshitsugu-kun. Yasunaga-kun's the first.
Huh? Yasunaga-kun. The guy you introduced me to this morning?
Yep. They may not look at it first, but they're alike, don't you think?
The Oribes. What an unpredictable family. Stop talking about bro, you ugly bitch.
Call me that all you want. I'm confident in my popularity.
And from what I'd seen, that confidence was well justified. Fuck off back to the city, you idiot. Dumbass.
Oh no! Haruaki-san, I don't think I can argue with that.
What? You were an idiot? Alrighty then. Stupid. You're stupid.
Oh, how mean.
Join me, Yoshitsugu-kun. Stupid. Stupid. Huh? The hell? Don't talk shit about Tianet. You're pretty conflicted, aren't you? Sorry, Timmy-chan. I was just playing.
Wow, one nice reversal after another. Takes quite a man to surprise me.
I just don't want to lose to you, that's all. You dating or something? Boy, did I wish.
Stop it, Yoshitsugu. You're already late. Change and go to school.
Shut up. I ain't going. Mumbling something, the kid walked out of the dining hall, leaving his half-full bowl behind.
I'm sorry about that. How embarrassing. He's a really good boy deep down, though.
Yeah, I could actually see that. Somewhat. By the way, where are Makishima-san and Muro-san?
They went to pick up your bike.
Oh no, I gotta hurry after them.
Hey, they know where it is. They'll be fine, don't you think?
Well, you just have to set it on neutral and push, but I'm not sure they'll know how to do it. And I, of all people, should help. I might go about it the wrong way.
If that's all, then you shouldn't bother.
Why?
Because you're an outsider. I wouldn't suggest spending too much time alone with them.
They didn't seem that bad to me.
That's because they're adults. Don't assume everyone here is as welcoming as me. I'm an exception. You might get along fine, but you might also set them off. This place is already far from normal. Don't risk making it worse. He's right, I say. They insisted you leave it to them, so that's what you should do.
You think so too?
Yes. The men here are pretty serious about Yasumizu having its own way of doing things.
I could somewhat understand that. A visitor should behave like one. Doing anything more would be uncalled for. It was an old-fashioned way of thinking, but this was an old-fashioned kind of place for sure. Where do we wait then?
At my place.
Expected as much, but it still made me curious. Normally, you'd expect we'd sit around and drink some tea right here, so why didn't we? As we waited, Tammy, casually but uncomfortably, told me several things. First, I found out that the people here in Yasumizu were a bit on edge right now. The reason for that was the fact that, excluding me, they had 3 whole outsiders here. I'd assumed this myself from what I knew so far, but apparently, yesterday morning, a little girl was found straying around the Saranaga Rapids. They couldn't even find out her name, let alone who her parents were, so they didn't know how to handle her. For now, one of the inhabitants was looking after her. Like I'd been told, the more superstitious inhabitants, I saw mostly, saw her as a bad omen. I suggested leaving her to the police, but Tiami didn't seem to think it was a good idea. It barely made any sense to me, but if I were to believe her, things around here were such that not even the cops could do anything. And apparently, the remaining 2 outsiders were a pair of journalists gathering info for a magazine article. Unlike the little girl and I, they'd come here via the normal route, through Kamifutiyoshi, and therefore weren't considered a bad omen or whatever. Still, even normal outsiders put the people here on edge. Through this talk, I also got some details about the area itself. Yasumizu was a settlement part of an autonomous region called Futiyoshi Village, or simply Futiyoshi. It had also been on the map I'd been shown at the store. Futiyoshi was split into 2 areas, Yasumizu and Kamifutiyoshi. They were something that I didn't read. They were separated by a mountain. Going to Kamifutiyoshi took about an hour by foot, or 20 minutes by car on the winding but paved road. Side note, the school the students went to was in Kamifutiyoshi. These 2 settlements had ties so strong they shared customs and culture. Tiami said that the local seasonal events were quite unconventional. I asked her to elaborate, but all she would say was that Yasumizu had special meaning to Futiyoshi. She was making me more suspicious than I wanted to be. This conversation wasn't nearly as exciting as the one we had last night. Well, at least I found out she didn't have a boyfriend right now. Very intriguing. Seriously, like, we cannot be more obvious. It was nearly noon when Takumi-san came back, ending my waiting game. Side note, the door was fully open the entire time we waited. It was probably Tiami's way of saying nothing bad was happening here. Man, bikes sure are heavy, eh? Ain't as heavy as the boar I caught last year. I really didn't expect them to just carry it here. Like, sure, there were 2 of them, but how much mass did you have to haul a 200 kilogram piece of metal so easily? The unpaved road and the river made my sweet ride really damn muddy. You bring it up the cliff. There's a pulley. We bring stuff up from the bottom every now and then. Takumi. Oh, yeah, now's not the time for that. Hey, you think this thing's alright? It looks pretty damn wet. I'm not sure. I'll check. I'll leave the rest to you then. Oh man, this took longer than I thought it would. It's fine to do the sharpening tomorrow. I saw them off with a loud thank you. Now then, need help? I'll see what I can do by myself first. The worst part of the repairs was right at the beginning. I wanted to start by washing it, but that old lady, Yamawaki was her full name, got really mad at me. Didn't want any Saranaga mud on the ground here because it was corrupt or something. But this plaza was the only place with easy access to a water supply tap, so I did my best and convinced her to let me wash it as close to the edge as possible. Once it was clean, I could start checking what was wrong with it. It actually looked pretty good. Bent in places, sure, but the wash got rid of the bad sound the wheels made. The only problem was that both tires were flat. And it was a pretty big one. You didn't bring tools? No. Aren't you supposed to whenever you go on a bike trip? I just thought I could call road service and they'd do all the work. So unprepared. I have no excuse. Honestly, I was having a moment when I went out. Didn't think things through. Oh, can I ask what happened? My girlfriend left me. That seems like a lie. It wasn't. In any case, anywhere I could get tools to fix a flat tire? There might be some in the Nosato mansion. Nosato mansion? Yep, it's the biggest place in Yasumizu. If you can't find something there, you won't find it anywhere else in the village. See, then let's give it a shot. I don't really recommend meeting the guy, but I can't think of any other ideas. Someone important again? Yep, and he's kinda messed up to boot. And so we walked up the hill and arrived at this so-called Nosato mansion. From what I could tell, it was located at the highest point in the settlement. And like Tiami said, it was definitely a hell of a building. It had an elegant Western design, which would probably look even better if the place were better maintained. The yard was overgrown, and the building itself was pretty much buried in ivy and small trees. Exactly. We're desperate because we need a rebound, is kind of what I'm getting. If someone told me it was cursed, I'd instantly believe them. Did people actually live here? I wonder if the intercom works. You press the button next to the aged iron gate. Yasumizu was a quiet place, so I could easily hear the bell ring inside. Should we try again? Let's not. We'll piss him off. Moody guy, huh? Moody? Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I wasn't sure what she meant, but I opted to just wait rather than ask more questions. Soon enough, the person in question walked out of the mansion. What is it? Who are you? He wasn't young, but he didn't look middle-aged either. Certainly looked high-strung, that much was sure. Hello, Nosato-san. It's Serizawa. I know you, Tiami Serizawa. I'm asking the young man with you. Haruaki-san, this is Kiyonosuke Nosato-san. Kiyonosuke-san, this is Haruaki Fusaishi. He got into an accident. That introduction was the briefest one yet. Huh? What? I explained the situation again. He furrowed his brow when I mentioned the Saranaga, in addition to the reason we were here. So, I need repair tools so I can get out of here as soon as possible. Are the tires tubeless? Huh? I have patches, but I think fixing tubeless tires would be a bit too much for an amateur. So, there's no problem if you aren't. Oh, but if the tube bursts, you have no choice but to change it. I don't have any spares here, obviously. I wouldn't give them if I did. Sorry, but I'm not too knowledgeable about that. What a waste of time. I recommend spending however many thousands you need to have repairmen come and pick you up. I had no retort to that.
Oh, but Nosato-san, I don't think we can have any more outsiders come here right now.
Huh? Haven't you been to a proper city? Don't tell me you still believe that nonsense.
I'd be fine with it, but I doubt the elders would be. We've had too many visitors these last few days.
I don't care what you Yasumizu peasants think. What do you think? What do you expect me to do anyway? Fix the tires myself and get oil all over me?
Oh, I'd never suggest that. I just think a Fujiyoshi village head should help a troubled visitor.
How about instead of relying on me only when it's convenient, you just give him a traditional Yasumizu welcome? You know, throw him off the cliff. Whoa, what the hell?
Come on, you can't say that.
Yami's tone was slightly off. I could feel a bit of irritation behind her words. I know it might be a bother, but can you at least lend me the tools? What? I'll just borrow them. You won't hear or see me work. I can even pay. Well, I don't mind that much, but I'll want compensation for anything you break. Student or not, I'll have you act proper. Then he pointed me to the garage and walked back to the mansion. Man, I thought we were screwed there. What the hell's a burst tube?
Wow, that's so lame.
What, you think every biker can fix a bike by just bashing it with a wrench or something? I don't know, but aren't there a lot of girls who are into guys good with cars and stuff? So you're into Nosatoshi.
Nope. He's just acting like he's smart. He's probably never repaired a thing in his life. The guy's not nearly as experienced as he's have you think.
Huh? Then why does he have bike repair stuff?
The Nosato mansion is basically the Yasumizu branch of the Nosato family. Their main mansion is in Kamifujiyoshi. Whatever they don't need, they send over here. I heard Kiyonosuke-san was given a car 5 or 6 years ago, but he couldn't drive it at all, so it's been gathering dust ever since.
Damn, that was the countryside for you. Couldn't hide your shame if your life depended on it. Anyway, I now knew that the man was the condescending, pretentious type. He still helped me out, though, and it was true I didn't know much about the bike repairs, so I couldn't really get mad. Anyway, let's just take everything that looks like it could be useful.
Like bandits, huh? I'm in.
Sure I'm not bothering you? I'd feel down without anyone to talk to. Just keep chatting with me. It helps. The instructions that came with the repair kit told me that my bike's tires were a rather difficult type to repair, of course. Apparently, I had to remove the tires, but where did I even start with that? Well, as long as I didn't break it, nothing I did could be worse than having to call road service down here, so I just tried taking it apart. But as I removed whatever nuts I could, I made the situation even worse than it was. Yeah, this really wasn't a job for an amateur.
You seem to be having a rough time. You can eat this too, Chiami-san. Wow! Thank you!
Well, this looks serious. Man, machines are just no good.
Hey, the benefits of culture are great as long as they don't break.
Munch, munch. Think he can fix it for sundown?
That might be hard. Don't worry, though. Worst comes to worst, I'll do something.
Munch, munch. I really appreciated how she handled the visitors in my stead. Hey, Tiene, is it hard to get a bike license?
I don't know. I know that scooter licenses are easy. I have one myself.
Munch, munch. Mid-sized bike licenses are pretty hard to get. You even need to take a course, just like with cars. You like bikes? The hell? What's the matter to you? How much was that anyway? 800,000 yen? Brand new? Holy shit! What the hell? That's way too high. You an idiot or what? How'd you get that much? Part-time jobs and all that?
And you got it into an accident. Poor Haruaki-san.
Munch, munch. Kimi-sensei, if I may ask, what happened to my share of the food? Ah! Oh no! I ate it all! Poor Haruaki-san! I didn't want sympathy from the one responsible. As I told her off for not leaving me any food, I somehow removed the tires. I could only hope I'd be able to fix this up. I'd had this thing for less than a month, but the trouble it was putting me through made it feel like it somewhat dear to me. I wanted to fire it up again and make it go as fast as it could. Suddenly, I heard an engine. Felt like it was mocking me. Hold on, an engine? Here? I stopped working and turned around to see an unfamiliar van drive into the plaza. Barring the classic looking piece of junk in Nosato's garage, this was the first time I'd seen a car here. As far as I knew, no one living here actually owned a running car, so
These are the journalists I told you about.
I knew it. Once the van stopped, a lady stepped out of it.
Hello.
Oh, she's pretty.
Hello. I'll be bothering you again today. You're a new face.
Hello. My name's Haruaki Bike Crash.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Crap, that was no time for an inside joke. I quickly introduced myself properly. I crashed not too far away, so I'm stuck here for the time being.
I see. So you're a student. Sorry about the trouble you're going through. Oh, and this is me.
The woman gave me her business card. Hisako Mamiya, a freelance writer. Her pen name was Yuko Hose.
Have you ever read Kyuko Jose's articles?
Sorry.
Figures. I'm not a big name yet, and the magazines I do get printed in are marketed for housewives and the elderly.
That's some pretty intense competition. What do you write anyway?
Food reviews. I specialize in unusual dishes.
Like the foulest smelling canned food in the world or something?
Yep. Well, your usual brand of weirdness doesn't attract much attention these days, so I'm looking for minor culinary oddities local to Japan. Anyway, if you know of any weird dishes from your hometown, do tell me. I'd travel the length of Japan to give it a try.
A student from the lab I frequented once made pork miso soup with a mushroom he found on campus. He had mass hallucinations and...
No flashes of brilliance or poisons, please.
As we chatted, I became curious. By the way, weren't there two of you?
Yes, I'm here with a partner. He just needs some time too. Oh, there he is.
I looked at the van and became completely awestruck. It felt like the van had shed his skin or something. That made no sense, but seriously, how did this fit in here? He was gargantuan. Takumi-san was something, but this man was on the level of a foreign heavyweight wrestler. Though, unlike Takumi-san, this man was primarily fat rather than muscle. As he walked out of the driver's seat, the van shook wildly. Bike Crash could be an awesome name if you have the right swagger to pull it off. Haruaki does not have that swagger.
Yudai Hashimoto-san. Yudai Hashimoto-san, a photographer. He's way more famous than me. He works in all sorts of fields. I imagine you've seen some of his photos without even knowing it.
I didn't know much about photography, but I was definitely convinced. There was a certain kind of authority, or gravity around him. He wasn't saying a word, and I couldn't tell what he was thinking.
Nice to meet you. I'm Haruaki Fuseishi.
Was he even alive? Hello. After a strange pause, he slowly bowed like the moving mountain he was and greeted me with a voice like a titan. He seemed somewhat difficult to interact with.
This is your last day here, isn't it? Yes. Oribe-san said she'd let me try her prize Jishinare. I don't know if an outsider can handle it. I have my stomach medicine. I'm sure I'll be fine. And so, Mamiya-shi and Hashimoto-shi walked off to the dining hall. Who would have thought that such a beauty was a delicacy hunter? I had to admit, that gap was kind of charming. Man, we are so horny. As intrigued as I was, I couldn't waste any more time. I had to fix my bike already. Yeah, if only we were enamored with Yudai. Whoa. A lot of things had surprised me here in Yasumizu, but nothing as much as this. Hello? No reaction. At first glance, he looked like a poor man, too senile to think and perceive properly. You need something from me? I made sure to speak as clearly as possible. It didn't look like he understood. I figured it was best to just ignore him and resume the repairs, but... I looked at him again. He was still just standing there like his soul and brain had left his body. A vacant stare, yellowed eyes, half-opened mouth covered in saliva. He spoke again. What's coming? What? His voice was too hoarse to make out. Come again?
I placed my hand against my ear. He finally understood what I wanted and prepared to whisper something. I brought my ear closer and... The wolf is coming! The sudden shout caught me completely off guard and made me fall to the ground. He looked down at me, laughing. He clapped and opened his half-toothless mouth into a wide smile. The wolf is coming! The wolf is coming! He bent his body in a weird way, laughed like he was convulsing, turned around, and just left. Haruaki-san! Oh, I'm too late. Tammy had joined the journalists and only just came back. Late for what?
Gramps over there loves messing around with strangers like that.
Wait, that's your grandpa?
No. I don't even know his name. He's been in Yasumizu forever, and he's always like that.
It felt less like he was just messing around and more like he's a bit, touched.
Yep. Everyone calls him the old man who cried wolf.
Named after the boy who cried wolf, I assume? Doesn't work as well, though. Wolves, eh? As far as I knew, there were no wild wolves in Japan. There used to be, but after the last sighting in either the Meiji or Showa era, they've been considered extinct here. Modern Japan's image of wolves came from the Western fairy tales and the like. It wasn't linked to anything in our culture or life. Even the boy who cried wolf was a Western tale. Did his brand of insanity make him repeat the tale or something? A bit weirded out by the circumstances, I went back to repairing my bike. After a bit more time, I somehow took off the rubber from the tires and removed the tubes. Both tires were pierced by some really rusty nails. Fuck, this kind of stuff only happened at the worst of times. Then I applied the patches and filled them with air using a manual pump. I wet the tubes. There were no bubbles, meaning no air was leaving them. Things were looking good. Yeah, he is way too focused on getting laid, and he has, I get that this is out in the middle of nowhere, but he thinks his chances are way higher than they are. After the high schoolers came back from school and passed by, no one else stopped to talk. Yumi was looking a bit bored now. I think I got it.
Seriously? But it all seems so hopeless.
Well, sorry. Though, I still need to rebuild this. That's gonna be a lot of work.
And you'll be able to leave then?
Yeah. Believe me, I know I shouldn't stay here long. I can take a hint.
That's great.
She didn't seem to care that much. Guess I had no chance with her, huh?
You've been at this for hours. How you holding up? Need a break?
Well, I'd be better if a certain someone didn't take away my lunch break.
Hey, I gave you some crackers, didn't I?
I think that wasn't enough to sate a guy in his mid-20s. Still, I'm pretty fine. I'll push forward a bit more. You can go if you want. I've been introduced to just about everyone here.
There's 2 people you haven't met yet.
Really? Well, there was no real need to, right?
I'll stay around a bit longer. I came back here because I was bored, and it's not like I'm busy.
Couldn't you play around with your 52 guy friends?
I take it back. I came back because I wanted to be bored. Living in the city is so annoying and tiring, especially with 52 guys texting you all the time.
Oh.
Sorry, I lied about the 52 guys.
Why?
Because I wanted to keep you in check, I guess.
Why would she pull a tactic like that only to reveal her hand?
Hey, did you really get dumped by your girlfriend?
And now she asked me that. I did. Honest.
I see.
Well, after that relentless assault, it wouldn't be fair unless I played my own card. Want to come with?
Huh?
It's a 2-seater. Yeah, there's even an extra helmet. It's not dry yet, though. I'm obviously leaving soon, so unless you have something planned, you can join me. We can even go on a bike tour. If we have enough time, I can take you anywhere. Flexible, open to fine-tuning, wild, and charming. It was a good date invitation, if I said so myself.
That sounds great, and I have no plans.
Oh?
I'll go get my stuff then.
Demi smiled and turned round to head to her place. She then looked back at me and...
You should hurry before I change my mind.
Yeah, sure. Not that made me motivated. This was one tiring trip, but at least I met someone good along the way. I'd just forget everything I didn't want to remember while on the road with her. I don't know if Tammy's actually really interested in us or whether she just wants a ride out. So, I could only hope that clever girl and I would eventually grow closer. With that ulterior motive in mind, I presumed rebuilding the bike.
After several failed attempts, I was finally making some good progress putting the bike back together. Afternoon had passed, and it was almost evening. At the rate I was going, I'd definitely be working while it was dark. Would that even be possible? It might be way past midnight by the time I was done. Tammy might dump me for that. And life sure was hard. I don't think she's dating us at the moment. She can't dump us. The plaza I'd worked in was now totally empty. There was no one around me. All I could hear was the wind, the frogs, and the tools in my hand. It was desolate, to say the least. I suddenly felt really weak. It made me keenly aware of being in a place I didn't belong and that I was preparing to escape. What? It was an impressive atmosphere, like the bars of a cage were slowly swinging shut. What's this, Haruaki? Think you're gonna get attacked or something? I tried to laugh it off, but it didn't work. As I became more conscious of my surroundings, I began to hear things I hadn't noticed before. I heard a voice. Someone was singing. It was an inarticulate little girl's voice. I stopped my work. Before I knew it, I'd put my tools down and gone looking for the source. Was I that starved for human presence? Or did the malaise make me feel like I was in danger? I walked down the hill where the song came from. Passing the tall grass, I arrived. Guardians are. It was a strange sight. The field was covered in tall grass. There were countless rocks peeking out of it. Unlike the boulders all over Yasumizu, these were only up to my waist. They looked like gravestones. 6, the bad jar hums along great within an array of bricks. The field extended into the dusky western sky before ending at a cliff. This was the lowest spot in Yasumizu, the border to Saranaga. There was a large pine right at the edge. 8, the donut bologna rice show, snows on the mountain. The evening sun, the stones, and the pine's shadow gave the field a strange aura. A little girl was running through it. Her steps were awkward. At this moment, the space was alien. I felt like I was looking at a Giorgio de Chirico painting. I apologize if I just murdered that. Place felt like it didn't belong in this world. Suddenly, I came to understand that this place was special. It was a sacred, mystical ground where no outsiders were welcome. The girl fell. Are you okay? I run to, with no hesitation, the little girl. Help up. Half crying little girl. Muddy clothes. New graze on band-aid. Covered kneecap. I console little girl who pushes us away. Run. To someone. Appears. Girl. Who is the girl that I once saw. This is really confusing. Prepare for the feast when the evening arrives. Girl, we've incomprehensible phrase. We hide behind the little girl who is looking at us with fear and hostility. Run. The girl hugs the little girl and warns me? You probably won't make it, but run. Me? The girl. I'm behind the girl, I think. With Mist. Mist. Me, girl, behind. Mist. There's lots of mist, apparently. So much mist. And I'm alone. Turn around. Run. To where? In a daze, I came back to the plaza. Suddenly, Tammy shook me, bringing me back to my senses. Where were you? Sorry, I'll finish the job now. It's too late, you idiot. You won't make it in time. You've got to hide. I couldn't understand what she was getting at. What are you doing? Go to your room right now. But Haruaki-san's... Forget the outsider. Old man Konzo and I'll check the other places. Stop wasting time and go back to yours. I couldn't understand. What were these two doing? What scared them so much? It didn't take long for me to find out. I looked down the hill. From Saranaga, beyond the field I'd just been in, came a rising haze. It was so dense you could easily call it mist. It moved strangely, like a living creature, as it flowed into the plaza. Haruaki-san, over here! Yami pulled me by the hand. What's going on?
Head like it weighs a ton.
Deal with it! You've got to find a place you can lock the doors! You'll die if you don't!
What do you mean? Tell me.
Please, don't ask questions and just do as I say just this once!
Albeit hesitantly, I did as she said. We ran up the hill and crossed the rice field path until we made it to a simple outhouse.
This should be fine.
Seriously, what's going on? And sure, that was a hell of a mist, but this won't protect me, right?
Listen, there's no time to explain, so please, just do what I say and only that. Get in there, lock yourself in, stay inside the whole night, and don't make a sound.
My mind was pretty clear by this point, so much that I began to wonder why it was clouded until now. Because of that, I could easily understand exactly what Tiami just said, despite how weird it was. I could also see she was really desperate. Alright, well, apparently we need a ton of keys, so those must be numbered keys. So I guess we'll hide in the outhouse. Exactly, this is how we get Hanamizawa syndrome. Now that's a hell of an order.
Haruaki-san.
Just so you know, pulling that off is pretty hard. When I do, I'd like a good reward and an explanation.
Sure, I'll tell you everything. So please, survive the night.
The words, the teary smile, none of it looked fake. See ya then. You gotta hurry, right?
Yep. Haruaki-san.
What?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
Leaving me one hell of a homework assignment, Tiami ran off. The plaza was covered in the mist by now. I could see it rising to take over the fields, too. Anyway, a promise was a promise. 10 minutes later, I began to wonder what I was doing. Was I really supposed to spend the night here? This outhouse wasn't like a prefab you'd find in construction sites. It was just a shack built by hand. It merely happened to have a toilet unit installed. It was Japanese style, so I couldn't even sit down. All I could do was stand. Another problem, it was the type of toilet that had to periodically be pumped empty, so the smell was really bad. Sure, there was a cover on the toilet unit, but without any kind of air freshener anywhere, the smell of ammonia could only do so much. The only good thing about being here was that if I had to go to the toilet, well, mission complete. But what of it? Again, was I really supposed to spend the night here? The question quickly made me realize how stupid this was, and I began making assumptions to make this easier for myself. Was I being pranked? Or was everyone here just crazy? Hell, the mist had already filled the surroundings, and there was no way this shabby outhouse protected me from it. The air here already felt misty and damp. The temperature here was low, so I could still bear it somewhat, but staying here all night would make me all wet. Again, I wasn't safe from the mist here. I considered I'd probably be better off sleeping in the grass outside than staying here. The reasonable part of my mind urged me to stop playing along with these hicks. However,
get in there, lock yourself in, stay the whole night, and don't make a sound. Sure, I'll tell you everything. So please, survive the night.
My sense of duty made it hard for me to break the promise I'd made to her. Actually, that wasn't quite true. I was more intrigued by the prospect of learning more about this place. Anyway, I took the time to compile what I'd found out today. This was the Yasumizu settlement, a special part of Fujiyoshi. It was situated right next to the Saranaga Rapids. The people living here were Tiami Serizawa, Yasunaga Oribe, his family, Kaori Oribe and Yoshitsugu Oribe, Hikamochi Kamoshira, Haru Makishima, her granddad, Kanzo Makishima, Tae Yamawaki, Takumi Muro, Yonosuke no Sato. It seemed like he was Kami Fujiyoshi, the place on the other side of the mountain, but for some reason he lived here now. And finally, the old man who cried wolf. Those were the 11 people I'd met, and Tiami said I had 2 more left. That could only mean that the 2 I'd met by that pine were the ones. A little girl, she was probably the child that strayed into Saranaga yesterday morning. And then there was the fantastical-looking white-haired woman clad in strange clothing. She was probably the one I'd seen in the morning. The fact that I'd seen her twice made it likely that she was indeed real, but with how mysterious this place was, I couldn't rule out the possibility that she was an illusion. According to Tiami, the little girl was being looked after by someone in the village, so I could only assume the white-haired woman was the one. If I counted the little girl, it would mean that Yasumizu had 13 inhabitants. There were 2 journalists, Hisako Mamiya and Yudai Hashimoto, Add me to that, and you had a total of 3 outsiders, but I'd put that aside for now. Anyway, time for an assessment. Yesterday morning, a little girl strayed into Saranaga. To make it worse, no one, not even herself, knew anything about her. She instantly got branded as an ill omen. The next day, Tiemi, who was in Saranaga for some reason, found me there. They recognized me as a proper lost person, but since I came through Saranaga, I was also branded as an ill omen. From what Hyonosuke no Satoshi said, it was safe to assume that it used to be customary to throw people like us into Saranaga. And then there was the mist. The girl said something mysterious. Prepare for the feast when the evening mists arrive. I could only assume it was related to the same superstition. After all, the mist came from Saranaga itself. It and the river seemed to be central to the local customs and ideas. With that in mind, how was it dangerous? What was going to happen now? Yomibito, as in people from Yomi, the ancient Japanese land of the dead? Dead people came back through Saranaga, and they were corrupted. Well, that gave room for some wild ideas. Was there some sort of pathogen in Saranaga that rose up with the mists? Did it turn people into zombies? Was I about to be part of a Japanese Resident Evil? Wait, that was already Japanese. What if you had a 10% chance to be infected by the mists, but a 100% chance to be infected by another person? That explained why everyone had to isolate themselves like this. If I became a zombie, I probably wouldn't have the mind to unlock the door. So basically, by locking myself in here, I was quarantining myself. I hadn't put all that much thought into it, but that seemed like a good story. Sure, stuff like the boulders and the wolves didn't fit anywhere into my idea, but it was still interesting. Then again, I knew this was Hicksville and all, but would a superstition that science could explain so easily really survive the modern world? It seems so weird.
Get in there, lock yourself in, stay the whole night, and don't make a sound.
Don't make a sound. Does this village have any masks? To be frank, the reason why I spent so much time on these delusions was because I was scared of things I didn't know or understand. In the past, people used to attribute stuff like natural phenomena and diseases to gods, devils, yokai, and then do nothing but fear them. They were scared of these manifestations of monsters and whatnot, but on the other hand, it was better than not seeing or not knowing what they really were. The fact that you could die to things you couldn't see or understand made life really unreasonable and unfair. That was why it was really logical to give things names and mental images in order to recognize them and memorize them. My fear of things I didn't know was the same, except I wasn't satisfied with just labels or hypotheses. I needed to reach the truth. That aside, what I was feeling right now wasn't a fear of the unknown. It was a realistic, practical fear of something that could endanger my life.
Get in there, lock yourself in, stay the whole night, and don't make a sound.
That meant that outside lurked something dangerous that could hear sounds. Perhaps it was the so-called dead that rose up from the river. Or maybe, assuming I was right with my Saranaga sickness theory, it was the people who came out and beat the shit out of all the deceased who didn't follow the rules. The wolf is coming. Maybe the wolf was the title given to the killer? Suddenly, I heard a scream in the distance. Here we go. Well, we gotta go out and take a look, guys! That was some timing. Right as I was about to form a new hypothesis, the proof connecting it all suddenly came to me, and it was right outside. It had gotten really dark. There were no lights anywhere. The darkness was fear. Unperceived equaled unknown equals dangerous equals scary. Leaving this place was dangerous. Dangerous equals scary, 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 scary. Scary things were scary no matter how much logic you applied. But I couldn't discard my desire to get to know the fear and conquer it. I opened the door and stopped in place. Night wasn't absolute darkness. No matter how dark or cloudy it was, the sky always gave some bit of light to us. However, I came to understand that it could be hard to see even if there was light. Everything I saw was covered by a dense mist. Combined with the pale moonlight, it made the area seem milky. It made it hard to get around. Regardless, I couldn't ignore the scream. There was something beyond this veil. I kept moving forward. Unless my ears were deceiving me, the scream belonged to a woman and had come from the right. I couldn't let myself think that. Or rather, I didn't want to think that. The unknown was scary. Personally, I'd found that principle made my life really easy. I'd had more than enough fear from those which were directly threatening my life. I really didn't want to have the fear of losing someone as well. Change your line of thought, Haruaki. Solving the mystery might save someone. 2 birds with 1 stone. I began walking faster. Another scream. It was close. I realized I had to find a way to protect myself. I was unarmed, so I looked around for anything I could use as a weapon. I felt around to see if there were any branches or anything. Sadly, all I felt was grass. I went deeper and searched the ground itself. Soon I felt something hard. It was rock. A moment of digging later, I took it in hand. It was a bit smaller than my hand. I almost teared up at how useless it seemed, but it was better than nothing. I looked at the base of my feet and saw the grassy ground. I could easily move forward if I first checked the ground using my feet. And since I might have been close to the danger, I had to focus on what was ahead too. I'd recognize the danger and, if possible, get rid of it. I concentrated entirely on that and stepped forward. I couldn't hear the screams anymore, but I could hear other things. A wet sound, and the sound of something cracking. It filled my mind with countless things I didn't want to imagine. Even so, I kept walking forward, until I saw it. The fuck is that? Oh. My hypotheses were nothing but delusions. The truth was truly something you had to see yourself. But why? Why was this so scary in spite of being true? It wasn't supposed to exist. It couldn't exist. After all, it was a wolf with a humanoid body. And there's no such thing as werewolves. The next morning, in a paddy field in Fujiyoshi Yasumizu 3rd block, someone discovered a thoroughly mangled corpse. The clothes nearby led the discoverers to conclude that it was the traveler Haruaki Fusaishi. He's still moving! Strangely enough, I could perceive this particular moment. Ayomibito! Purge him! And so, Goodbye, Haruaki-san. Was finished off by the girl. The feast begins. The last thing I heard, I'll hang the wolf, was that. Alright. Well, unveiled arrival. And we got key number 2, Werewolf and Resurrection. The route unlocked by this key is represented by the same number on the scenario chart. Alright. Bad ending, number 2. Watch hint corner. Sure? What's the hint corner? Hey there. You've done it now, eh, Chief? Me? Don't mind me. I'm just an insignificant interface character. You can call me Sheep. This is a space between dreams. That bastard Haruaki Fusaishi can't see it, so feel free to kick back and relax. That said, you can't stay too long. I'm busy, so let's get down to business. As you'd expect of a hint corner, I'm here to give some helpful advice in your times of need. First, let's get all the game explanations out of the way. While I did say you've done it now just before, you were actually fated to arrive here from the start. I mean, you only had one choice, right? There should have been one below it, but it had a lock mark next to it, and you couldn't pick it. But just so you know, redoing Tiemi Serizawa's idiotic quiz is pointless. None of those choices will change a thing. I think it was explained to you back in the tutorial, but let's review Raging Loop's structure just in case. As you just experienced for yourself, you will definitely die in Raging Loop. Why is that? Because many choices are locked and you'll need keys to unlock them. These keys are spread throughout the story. You'll need to die to obtain most of them. That's why death is unavoidable. It seems Haruaki Fusaishi can retain his memories for the next time, even if he dies. This is a system to replicate that. So here's my first piece of advice to you. You get stuck? Try dying. There are many keys lying within the story's many bad endings. You can also obtain keys from some surprising outcomes. Of course, it's possible to get all the keys and finish the game without seeing all the bad endings, but I'll leave that up to your playing style. As for bad ending number 2, also known as Toilet Man's End, you need key number 2 to avoid it. But that won't be a problem for next time. You notice? You already obtained key number 2 by dying here. You can check the details of key number 2 from the keys list in the menu, so you can check it out there. But basically, Haruaki Fusaishi now knows from experience he'll die if he goes out at night. That's what makes a new choice possible. You'll find more bad endings that you're forced to play through first in the future, so keep that in mind. Other times, you can keep going onwards for a long time without finding a key. Whenever you get a key, it's displayed with large red letters, so remember that part too. Haruaki Fuseisu will be sent back to the starting point after this. In other words, the scene at the start of the game with him on his bike. You can reread everything from the start if you'd like, but you're going to die dozens of times from now on, so it'd be a pain to reread every time. So once you get a grip of the situation, use the scenario chart to jump ahead. You can jump to any scene you've read before, whenever and wherever you want. Really handy. For example, you could open the menu, press the chart button, and go to Q, follow the screen in Dense Mist, even right now. Use the scenario chart to jump around. That's the key to completing Raging Loop. Incidentally, this marks the end of 2, Dense Mist. The so-called prologue is over. If you pick the choice that was unlocked this time, the game's first main route, 3, Yomi, will begin. Good luck! The next time you come across a locked choice, look to the right side. You should see the number of key you need to unlock it. The number appears on the scenario chart too. Makes it clear what's locked and what key numbers you need. Handy system, eh? By the way, here's a little tip. You won't be getting key number 1 for a long time. You didn't miss anything, so just relax and keep playing to your heart's content. That took a while, and I'm busy. Well, that's enough for this time. Die another hearty death next time. Exactly! We're playing 428 Saranoga Scramble. Guess it was just a dream. Do better next time. 1 sheep, 2 sheep. Alright, so that's back at the beginning. Let's look at our chart really quick. Okay, so we're gonna save. I think we're going to end here for tonight. Because I think this is a good place to stop. Next stream is still going to be Sunday. I will probably be with someone else. So just a normal stream, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. As a reminder, if you ever need updates on what we're playing when, go to our Twitter. Link is below. You want to see a game other than this, apparently, that we are playing, go to our YouTube channel. You can see all of the other games that we have played. So, yeah. Oh, you're going to be late to Sunday? Well, we will catch you up when you get there. I don't know what we're playing yet. I think we'll have Lemur there, but I don't know if Mana will be there. So, we'll do something. But have fun, whatever you're doing. So, yeah, thanks for joining me for this impromptu stream. I know that we went a little bit late, but you know what? This was fun. I'm glad that we got to see us die. So, yeah. Wash your hands, wear your masks, get vaccinated, make good choices, and be back on Sunday. Have a good night, all. Good night.